in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And as you know, the COVID is coming back. So the topic today is the COVID returns impact on judicial system. But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that today is the World Theatre Day. World Theatre Day is an international observance celebrated on 27th March. It was initiated in 1961 by the International Theatre Institute. World Theatre Day has been celebrated by ITI centers, ITI cooperating members, theatre professionals, theatre organizations, theatre universities, and theatre lovers all over the world on 27th of March. This day is a celebration for those who can see the value and importance of the art from theatre and acts as a wake-up call for governments, politicians, and institutions which have not yet recognized its value to the people and to the individual and have not yet realized the potential for economic growth. Media conference with Lal Goyal wish a very happy World Theatre Day. Now coming to our main topic, that is COVID returns impact on judicial system. The judicial system is the most expensive machine ever invented for finding out what happened and what to do about it. No corruption unless the judicial system is corrupt. A lawsuit, once started in India, is the nearest thing to eternal life ever seen on this earth. If litigation were to be included in the next Olympics, India would be quite certain of winning at least one gold medal, said by the eminent jurist Nani Palkiwala. The judiciary is a system of courts which interpret and apply the law. The role of the courts is to decide cases by determining the relevant facts and the relevant law and applying the relevant facts to the relevant law. The Indian judiciary administers a common law system in which customs, securities, and legislation all codify the law of the land. It has, in fact, inherited the legacy of the legal system established by the then colonial powers and the princely states since the mid-19th century and has partially retained the characteristics of practices from the ancient and medieval time. The Supreme Court of India, also known as the Apex Court, is the top court and the last appellate court in India, and the Chief Justice of India is its top authority. High courts are the top judicial bodies in the states, controlled and managed by chief justices of states. Below the high courts are district courts, also known as subordinate courts, controlled and managed by the district and session judges. The subordinate court system is further classified into two: the civil court, of which a sub-judge is the head, followed by the municipal court at the lower level, and the criminal court, headed by Chief Judicial and Metropolitan Magistrate at the top and followed by ACJM, ACMM and JM or MM at the lower level. In India, we have one Supreme Court, 25 High Courts and 672 district courts. India has 19 judges per 10 lakh people on an average, according to a law ministry data. In 1987, the Law Commission had recommended increase in the number of judges to 50 judges per 10 lakh. About 20 lakhs advocates are there in India for a population of approximately 140 crores, while in USA there are 13.5 lakhs lawyers for a population of 33 crores. About 3.5 crores cases are pending in India. Now, due to COVID, courts are working at restricted capacity and disposed of just over 35,000 cases in April 2020 compared to an average 13.25 lakhs per month in 2019. Throwing open courts would mean that every court complex would be thronged by people. In the Supreme Court, the average footfall is over 5,000 Even if one staff member tests positive or if a lawyer tests positive, the resulting effect on all others are serious. Last year, the Supreme Court of India has issued guidelines for court functioning, such as hearing only urgent cases and mandatory electronic filing, restraining hearing only critical cases and conducting them through video conference. According to a report published in National Judicial Date Grid states that overall pendency of cases has increased significantly at every level of the judicial hierarchy in the last decade. From 2006 till now, there has been an overall increase by 22% in the pendency of cases across all courts. As of August 2019, there are over 3.5 crore cases pending across the Supreme Court, the High Court, and the subordinate courts. Of these, subordinate courts account for over 87.3% pendency of cases, followed by 12.5% pendency before the 25 high courts. The remaining 0.2% of cases are pending with Supreme Court. This number is continuously increasing and thus itself shows the inadequacy of the legal system. Now the challenge before the Indian judiciary is to educate upon the pending cases seems to be more difficult amidst the outbreak of COVID-19. Right to a speedy trial is an integral part of the principle of fair trial and is fundamental to the international human rights discourse. In Indian jails, most of the prisoners are under trials, which are confined to the jails until their case comes to a definite conclusion. But due to lockdown, only urgent cases are being heard, so it is not possible to hear matters of under trial prisoners. If your lordship feel that judges are above the law, we will have to take the law in our hands, said SCBA President Mr. Vikas Singh to the Supreme Court. On the issue of SOP formulated for the hybrid system of the hearings, the Supreme Court on Tuesday closed the proceedings in the writ petition filed by the SCBA, noting that the matter cannot be dealt with on the judicial side of the court, and that's why Mr. Vikas Singh has to use such a strong words in front of the honorable judges of Supreme Court. Now, why we have started this series again, which is called COVID returns? The reason is very simple. The per day cases peaked on 16th September 2020 in India with 97,894 cases and have since come down to 9,309 cases on 11th February 2021. On 26th March 2021, that is yesterday, India registered 62,274 new cases of coronavirus and 292 deaths, which has taken the country's cumulative tally past 11.91 million and the death toll to 1,61,275. And to discuss today's very, very important topic, that this COVID returns impact on judicial system, we have a very elite, learned, and proficient in legal matters, legal numeri, you can say, the panel with us. And I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma is the chairman of Gyan Deep Shiksha Bharati Senior Secondary School, Mathura. He is a leading lawyer of Western UP. He is regularly appearing in Supreme Court and different high courts, including Allahabad, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi, Andhra Pradesh, etc. He is extensively practicing constitutional, civil, and taxation matters. He is also rendering social services. He is secretary of Kans Nikandan Trust, Mathura. He is founder secretary of Civil Lawyers Forum and president thereafter. Welcome, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, you have appeared on my show several times. Yeah. Initially on the impact of COVID. Afterwards, we were discussing about the legal aspects on different topics. But now, again, we are going on square one position when we are talking about the COVID returns. And we have seen in last 43 days, that the COVID, which has touched a minimum of 9,309 cases, has risen in 43 days to 62,274 new cases. And this speed, the way it is increasing, was not seen even the last year when the COVID-19 was there in the peak. And now the recent reports which has come that we are getting the UK mutant, even the double mutant, and now recently, even yesterday, we have come to know that at Mathura, one South African mutant has also been reported. And even today's report, although I cannot vouch for it right now, that 3 South African mutant has been reported in Agra. So now, when this is the situation, and in many places in like Maharashtra, will be complete night curfew from tomorrow, that is Sunday, and many of the cities in Maharashtra under complete lockdown, like Nagpur, Bid, and other Nanded, etc. And many places in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, I think in Rajasthan also, when there is a night curfews. And so when this is the situation, and still the district courts and the civil courts are functioning in person, except the Supreme Court, even the High Court is also working in person. Only the Supreme Court, which is functioning in in virtual form, and now they have planned for the hybrid. I don't know whether it has started or not. That I think one of you will be able to guide us. So now we would like to know if this COVID, which is coming back so fast, what will be the impact on judicial system? Because in 1 year time, we have seen the lacunas of judiciary, which you all have noticed. Have we learned any lessons from that? Are we ready to face this again, the corona attack in India, and we are ready to face it without creating any hardship to the litigants, to the lawyers, to the judicial officers, and in public at large? Advocate Ramesh Sharma, we would like to know the COVID returns impact on judicial system. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, please.
Yeah, Mr. Goyal. First, I will like to congratulate you for conducting daily webinar series on such important and contemporary topics. Your research and analysis on the subject is always of very high quality, like today's also. Coming to the today's topic, COVID has actually returned back. Different type of strains are being seen this time in this second wave. As you have also said yesterday, one lady in Mathura and 3 persons in Agra. These all persons were tested on 3rd of March. Their RT-PCR report was there on 5th of March. Then their sample was sent to Lucknow for genomic test to test which strain they were suffering. And yesterday the reports have come that one lady from Mathura is suffering from South African strain, and 3 persons from Agra are also suffering from the same strain. And another remarkable thing is, one person from Agra is suffering with a strain which has been seen first time in the world. Neither it is South African, nor it is Brazilian, nor it is UKian, nor it is Chinese, and such a strain was not seen prior to that. So that is a new strain. God knows. Perhaps it may be due to the mutation of the strain. Now, further researches are going on that new strain, and reports have been said to be sent to the World Health Organization also. So naturally, the COVID is returned back. Now, coming to the judicial system, as you have also said, our judicial system is having 3 tiers. The top tier is the Honorable Supreme Court at national level. The middle tier is at state level, high courts. And the basic tier is at district level, that is the district courts. After implementation of our constitution, our Supreme Court developed itself as a strong guarantor of the fundamental rights of the citizen, and simultaneously to save the citizen from the lawlessness committed by the government itself. And due to all these reasons, all the governments tried their best to control the judiciary so that judicial system may not create problems in the arbitrary actions of the government. First time during the emergency period, the then government was successful to control the judicial system. Anyway, emergency has gone, the judicial system again revived. But now, second time, our present government is also successful to controlling the judicial system. And due to all these controls, our judicial system, particularly the top level, Honorable Supreme Court, they have lost their teeth. Whatever they were doing the previous time, God knows for what reasons, now they feel themselves unable to do the same. For everything, they are looking towards the government. And it seems that they want to do the act, to do the justice as per the choice of the government. This is very bad luck for the citizens of our country. But anyway, this is there. This all was going on. And at that juncture, this COVID came. This COVID has, at that time, first time, that is in March and April 2020, it completely paralyzed the judicial system. The online system was developed at central level, Honorable Supreme Court, but it was not available to common man and to all the lawyers of the Honorable Supreme Court. The few limited lawyers, I will like to word, totally hijacked this online system. They were successful to getting their matter listed for hearing and getting the relief. But all these selected lawyers were not available to the common man because of they were beyond the reach of the common man. So the common man was unable to reach to get the justice from this judicial system. Now, the second, when this wave was a little at lower side, this hybrid system was introduced, as you have said also. This hybrid system and its SOP was introduced by our Honorable Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court Bar Association has opposed it for reasons. Number one, this hybrid system is discriminatory. Government lawyers have been permitted physically to appear in the court, but not the other lawyers. They are expected to present themselves online. So it is discriminatory. Anyway, their other objections were that this system has not been developed in consultation with the Supreme Court Bar Association. It is arbitrary also. And for all these reasons, some other reasons also, there were some heated exchange in between the President Supreme Court Bar Association, as you have said, Mr. Vikas Singh, and the Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court. And all those words which you have said, that those were serious words were used. We have yet to see what will happen to this SOP now. It has not started working till now. It was expected to be worked in the month of April. Now, let us see what happens, what will happen to this SOP. Now, coming to the middle tier, during the last year, online hearing was going on in selected courts of the high courts. And almost same position was there in the high court also, that few lawyers who were having the online system and who were able to manage the listing. The listing has become a very important aspect nowadays because of the pendency is very high. Filing is also very high. Now, one has to make several efforts to get his matter listed. And the system has become selective in Honorable High Court also, in Honorable Supreme Court also, in the matter of listing. The affluent persons or affluent lawyers are successful to get their matter listed, but not the other persons. So many of the lawyers of the Honorable Supreme Court has complained this matter to the Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court that their matters are not being listed. In spite of that, their matters are very old and new matters are being listed, bypassing their matters. But no heed was given to such complaints, and the very same selective principle is going on. Only the affluent persons are successful to get their matter listed and getting the relief. What to say of getting the matter listed? Affluent persons are so highly influential, then that for those persons, even the special benches on the holidays are being constituted. But this all is not available to the common person of the India. Now, second wave is there. Hybrid, I don't think it will get any success at all, even if it is being started. So only the physical appearance of the government advocate shall be there. Remaining things shall all be very same. The listing process shall be the very same. And the important aspect is that on this online system, all the courts are not working. Only the limited courts are working. And fresh and urgent matters are being heard. But the pending matters are not being heard at all, either at Supreme Court level or High Court level or district level. Now, if we come to the district level, in the last year, when unlock started, the functioning of court with certain restrictions started. Some measures were, protective measures were taken by the Honorable High Court at district level. The infrastructure for online system is not there at district level. Either there can be a physical hearing or there can be no hearing at all. At lockdown time, the courts were completely closed, no hearing at all. During unlock period, physical hearing started with certain restrictions. A transparent polythene sheet was fixed in between the lawyers and the judicial officers to protect them. That was there. By this transparent sheet, any virus in the side of lawyers or litigants cannot go to the side of judicial officer or their staff. So they were protected. But nothing has been done from the protection of the lawyers or the litigants. Nothing at all. Even primary thing of sanitization or sanitizers have not been done at all. Rush of the public is there. Mostly the public is not wearing the mask nowadays. In unlock period, it was there, but now for a very long time, masks have been are not being used by the public. So it has become more unsafe. As the second wave is going rising very high, and this speed is higher than the speed of the last year. As you have said, that after coming 1 week, some more restrictions are definitely mandatory, I would like to say, to impose. Otherwise, the pandemic will do its work and it shall become impossible to control it if restrictions are not being imposed. Some restrictions have been imposed in Maharashtra, but increase is all less or bigger. It is in the entire country. So the restrictions must be imposed in the entire country, not only in particular states. Otherwise, it shall become impossible to control it. Judicial system shall also naturally paralyze. There is no other outway, because of either we have to set up a complete infrastructure in every district, and this is not a job which can be done in 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 months. It requires several crores of rupees, and a big infrastructure is to be created. So it will take time of several years. So immediately it is not possible. So either physically or no hearing at district level. And it will jeopardize the purpose of the justice also. Pendency will go high, and common man will rush from here to pillar to pole for the get justice, but he will get nothing. That's all in big name.
Okay, thank you very much, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. You have given lots of things. You have mentioned about the judiciary system in India in general, and you have also mentioned how judiciary has been hijacked by the government, and you have also mentioned that during the pandemic, the last year, whatsoever has happened, the lessons were not learned because we are not gearing up. We have done nothing, and according to you, it requires lots of money, it requires lots of infrastructure, but in 1 year, I don't think that we have done anything to upgrade the district court or the district's level or the tehsil level or whatsoever the lower level subordinate courts upgraded so that they will be ready for the online hearings, which are not there. So in case if the impact of the COVID will be more, so according to Advocate Sharma, again, this all the judicial system will be either it will be online or it will be closed, what has happened in the last 1 year. So according to him, the position is quite grim. One thing I would like to mention to our viewers, our idea is not to create fear, but to create the awareness. We want that all of you should be aware, and as well as the government authority should also realize that if they are not going to control it, if they are not ready, if they have not learned the lesson, then we will be again seeing the 1 year closer like what we have seen that 2020. It should not happen the same thing in 2021. That is the idea, that the people should be aware. They should wear the mask, keep the social distancing. Otherwise, whatsoever the government will do, it will be of no use. The COVID will be increasing day by day, and then again the situation what we have seen in 2020, the ultimate lockdown, which is very, very harmful for the society and the country. Thank you very much, Advocate Sharma, for giving your views. Now I would like to move to my next guest, and he is Advocate Sunil Bhargav. Advocate Sunil Bhargav is mainly practicing in criminal cases of murders, etc. at Mathura, Faridabad, Palwal, and Bharatpur. He was the secretary and president of the Bar Association of Mathura. He was the zone and region chairperson of Lions Club International of District 321C. He is a Melvin Jones Fellow of Lions International. He captained Lucknow University and were runners in All India Inter-University Tennis Tournament at Tirupati in lawn tennis. Advocate Sharma, please mute yourself. He represented UP in Veterans Cricket Team and became secretary of UP Veterans Association. He also represented UP in All India Masters Badminton. So Advocate Sunil Bhargav, apart from his leading practice, he is also leading in the sports arena. Welcome, Advocate Sunil Bhargav, on our show. Advocate Sunil Bhargav, you have heard what Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma has mentioned. And he, according to Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, that neither the government, nor the advocates, nor the litigants, no one has learned anything from the last year pandemic. And we are in the same position what we were in the 2021 March, 2020 March or April. So in case if we are not going to learn, still we will not learn, then we are facing the same situation what we have faced the last year. And according to Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, he is seeing that again the district level courts will be closed. Only the High Court and Supreme Court will function. That too online, no even hybrid system, according to Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Now we would like to know from you, COVID returns, impact on judicial system. Advocate Sunil Bhargav, please.
First of all, thanks, Lal Goyal. I had been invited earlier for this legal aspects only, and there was a talk. That time also the situation was same. It's nice to see that you have been concluding this program every day, and you have already passed 1 year, you have celebrated 1 year. That is great. Putting right words to the words to people you are interested in, let them listen. We are also there to advise what can be done at this situation. Right now, the impact of COVID, naturally, it came as a surprise when it came in March last year. Our government, our people were not prepared at that time to see what can happen to this. I still remember when initially this fact was taken up, people were taking it as a joke. Somebody was telling us, by March, it'll be over. Summers will take COVID away. It will just come, it will just go away. India has nothing to do. India will never have problems by COVID. But then we faced the pandemic. closures for a very long time. There was, total courts were closed. The whole country was closed. Basically, we had to sit at home, do nothing. That time also we realized people by sitting home, it is a problem for everybody. We cannot just sit home, let the economy fall. We cannot just sit home, see people misbehaving. We can't see people taking laws in their own hands. We can't do that also. We had to see, because we are basically people who are concerned with the judicial system. And we should see that the whole of India has basically all kind of, so, that they can have the security of judicial system. They can have security of the police personnel, and they can have security. That is one part. Besides that, when it was closed, people had no work. I'm a criminal lawyer, so I know how things changed. People who were working well, who were doing well outside, when the labor came back, they had to come back home with no job, no work. They had their savings, but then of course, how long will they survive like this? So one had to see, just by locking down things, India will not survive, because we are basically a country who is trying to get up to every normal aspects now, including industries, work, and everywhere. We were rising. And suddenly this pandemic came into India and created these problems. When the lockdown was there, I could see wrong people moving all around, snatching and murdering for a small amount things were done. And people could not be found, could not be traced, culprits could not be traced, because was in a lockdown, and police and others personnel also had a lot of work to do. So now when such situations happen and we feel insecure, then we look up at the judiciary only. Because we have a history of judicial aspects, people have done well. In our state also, we were all known that the best law will come from this place, go to the apex court also, and everywhere legal position will be great and good. But when wrong things happened and nothing could be traced out, then it came that is justice delayed, is justice denied. Now we had to wait for a very long period. Courts were closed for months. Then small work started off with, well, as you say, it started off with the computerized things. Maybe on mobile also, lawyers were allowed to argue. But then that created more problems, because we are not used to it. We don't have that system. It needs hybrid system. We didn't have that. Nobody knew that such a pandemic is going to come again in 2019. In India also, it came as a surprise, and it came as a surprise to the world also. Then we are trying to build up. We were trying to build up. Visual courts were built up, including at the apex court, the high court level, and sessions court level. But then it didn't work, because we didn't have the capacity. We didn't have that paraphernalia to work like that. Once that was there, we started off initially in visual courts, but then it stopped very fast, because it was not possible to work like that. Then we tried to work where it was an emergency, through visual, through appearances in courts which were working. But then again, it was a problem, because accused could not come, police personnel could not come for evidences. It was other medical staff also could not come. And then when they were not coming, how can we proceed further with cases? So ultimately what happened was, when the courts opened, people took this pandemic as a joke. Nobody wears masks, I can see everywhere. Nobody believes that it is going to be like this. And we want to work, because we want, if it is delayed and denied, more things will crop up, more problems will crop up in our country. But once it is there, now seeing that lockdown, seeing that work for 1 year, we realized that when it was opened, we were all overburdened, including the judicial officers, including us, including witnesses, including everybody. We tried to work out, let us do maximum cases, but it was not feasible, not possible, because everybody was not there to work around. as my colleague earlier stated, everybody was not working. So that created a problem. Limited judges were sitting, limited courts were working at right from the higher level to lower level. Now, if that situation continues and we let them permit, because now there are two things in line. Either we get afraid of the pandemic and we go against that lockdown, sit at home and do nothing and let the whole process stay again. And it is accumulated every time for more time. But that accumulation will lead to more problems later on. Now, only if we work only visual, as it was there initially, that Apex Court is also working only initial with visual courts. But in visual courts, the problem is, he is right. Very few people are taking advantage of that situation. Very few lawyers are appearing in that court. What about, okay, we have worked for our life. What about the youngsters who have come here for, say, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? They're all losing their jobs. Because in visuals, only one person is going to appear. And he will take advantage of the situations by asking them to prepare. But we cannot permit. It is for the whole. It is society for the whole. We are working for all lawyers. We are working for everybody, the litigants, civil, criminal, revenue, all. When it is like this, why should they be stopped? It is such a situation, I know, where people have taken position wrongfully, but we cannot file a case against them. Nobody is there to listen to us because they all know it will be pending, nothing will be done there. So ultimately, if that situation continues, then what will come is people will try to take law into their own hands, and that will be not good for India and not good for anyone in the world. So when these things come up, we will prefer that let us face this pandemic. It is coming. It will come the way it is coming up, the new strains every time. With dangerous strains, right now it's more dangerous. So once it is dangerous and we just sit at home, still it will increase because we generally see people are still moving out. When the lockdown was there, people were still going out. Right now, what they have done is only night curfews. How will night curfewing help us? It is basically when in daytime, everybody is moving out. Anybody who has this strain will give it to others. You cannot save people from that. Either it is complete lockdown, but that will not help the country, and that will be a worse situation for everybody. If that is so, then let us come out with a solution. The way thing is there, we cannot be virtual only. It is impossible because with the conditions we have, like no sophisticated things all around. So if that is the situation, we cannot be virtual, then we'll have to appear, the courts will have to come and work, but with caution. We should have caution all around. Why should people, like when people come to courts, I see very limited people should be allowed. Only that person who has the case should be allowed only with a lawyer. Why people, so many accompany him to help him? People are there to move out. Why should they be allowed to move? Why should they be allowed to come to places where we are having the judicial system? We just want that people who are appearing, people who have their kind of job, people who are coming in courts, whose appearance is a necessity, they should come and they should appear in court and let the court work and give them full support to this aspect. Well, if I'm a lawyer, in the case, I'll also try not to call people. Same thing is to be done in civil and criminal and all the revenue aspects also. Why should more people come? Let it be limited. Let more visual courts come in. Let appearances be done. Let evidence be done. Let applications be heard all around. But with all the proper sanitizations, with all proper cautions, which can be taken by mask, washing hands, but now what is going on is people are not taking it seriously. So my advice is we should work with practical aspect. We should work maximum to visual aspects. Where the visual thing is not possible, let it be appearances also. We had seen this, there was a curtain, a transparent curtain between the judges and the workers, and the lawyers appearing and the clients. So that will help them also to appear, make the case be heard without getting into a lot of problems, creating problems for people, and judicial system functioning at the maximum. So then COVID is there. We will have to live with COVID now. It is the part, the whole world is facing it. People are living with COVID. We will have to fight COVID, and how to fight COVID will depend on each and every person. And if we do it, we take all the sanitizations, we take all precautions, then I think court can be opened. The court functioning can be done, but with very restricted entries and very strictly. Only then people will survive. Otherwise, this pandemic, which is spreading to the maximum, will spread more. But if we don't work, because now that is the other aspect also. If we say, okay, let us lock down and court should not work, very limited work should be done. So if that is so, it will create more chaos around the country and it will create more problems. Whereas this part is concerned that less people are getting work because of, visual courts. I think it can be managed by the courts. Let it be more open. Let us complain this fact to the higher authorities and we can get everybody into working. If that is so, then it will be lesser. Otherwise, we will be giving, if the court doesn't function properly, then the problem will arise. We will be giving power to people, to those persons who are basically taking advantage of cognizable versions in our side. And it will be people who will be under problems all around. So I want to help the people. Judicial system will have to work, but with all cautions, they should make sure that sanitizations and all parts are there. So we help the society also, give strength to the society also, and we'll be working properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Sunil Bhargav. And Advocate Sunil Bhargav has raised 2 points, interesting points. First thing he says that when in the last year, March, when the pandemic came, the COVID came, people took it as a joke. And once the lockdown started, unlockdown started, again, the people have come out and they have forgotten what they have suffered. They started moving without mask. They were not keeping social distancing, etc. And again, now the same situation of the last year, they are again making it a joke. They think that it's a joke that a second wave is going to come. But what he says is a very important point is, he says if the judiciary will not work, then we are giving a long rope to the criminals, because if the criminals came to know that now the judiciary is not working and they have the freedom to do whatsoever they want to do, it will be a disaster for the society and for the country. Hence, the judiciary has to work. Now, how to work? He agrees with Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma that the online system or the virtual courts are not that successful because they are limiting it for few selected high-end advocates. But other advocates are not being, they are not either equipped or they are not having that technical know-how. And that's why the general public or those who can't afford those high-end advocates are not getting any relief from the courts. So what Advocate Sunil Bhargav says that the court should function, but they should limitize the entry of the litigants, the accused or the victims, as well as the advocates, and then they should do the hearing in person. And they should also upgrade the online or the virtual courts simultaneously. But this nothing has been done, or I can very well put it like this: we have not learned any lesson in last 1 year. I will definitely come and ask the question to both the advocates who have given their views, and then we will find out what they have said and what lessons we have learned, and where the civil society is lacking, or the government is lacking, or the judiciary is lacking. Thank you very much, Advocate Sunil Bhargav, for giving a very clear picture of the criminal side of the country or the judiciary. So that is very, very important to know how, if the courts will not work, if the lockdown is been imposed, what will be the condition now. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Advocate Divya Goyal. Advocate Divya Goyal is the partner of Legum Amicus at New Delhi. After successfully completing her professional qualification from Institute of Company Secretaries of India, she worked with a company secretaries firm in New Delhi, where she got extensive exposure in structuring of businesses, corporate and commercial advisories, and secretarial and other regulatory and legal compliances. She did her law from Delhi University. She subsequently, along with other partners in India and UAE, co-founded full-service corporate legal law firm Legum Amicus at New Delhi, and expanded her practice base to include real estate, POSH, and other litigations. Advocate Divya has extensively represented corporate clients before district courts, high courts, national company law, tribunal, and handled various matters, including recovery matters, criminal complaints, company and insolvency applications, and several other matters. She has executed and advised both foreign and domestic companies on transactions related to private equity investments, real estate, acquisitions, corporate restructuring arrangements, commercial contracts, and secretarial matters. Advocate Divya Goyal has served as external member on internal committees of various corporate houses under POSH Act. Welcome, Advocate Divya Goyal, on our show. Advocate Divya Goyal, you have heard Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma as well as Advocate Sunil Bhargav. Both have given their views, and they are very, very clear that we have not learned the lesson which we were supposed to learn in last 1 year. Or whatsoever we have learned, it is not in the pace, because we were not expecting this second wave to come so early, and we have taken the COVID very lightly. We means the civil society, the litigants, the advocates, even the judiciary system. Now, we would like to know from you the COVID returns impact on judicial system. Advocate Divya Goyal, please. Please unmute.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, sir, Mr. Sunil Bhargav. Thank you, sir, Mr. Ramesh Sharma, for your knowledge, for sharing your knowledge with all of us. And I also want to congratulate you, Mr. Goyal, on completing 1 year of media conference. And I am glad to be a part of it. So thank you, Mr. Lal, for always making me a part of it. Okay, so as we have discussed so much about the impact of COVID-19 returns, and we all know that the entire world has been overturned by COVID-19, with many countries going into lockdown to curb the spread of the pandemic. And I think not only litigation or the judicial system, I think no discipline of work has escaped from the impact of COVID 19, which is continuing to gravely affect the economic and legal framework of various countries. In fact, our judicial system is seeing many challenges. Now, my question here is, can COVID 19 be an opportunity for the judiciary to make use of its new technological progress to streamline processes and reduce the delays in justice that have been growing worldwide over the past few years? So here I would like to discuss what measures Apex Code of our country and High Codes implemented in mid 2020 to deal with the pandemic. The Supreme Court and the High Courts of various states issued circulars requiring litigants to approach courts only for urgent matters and not otherwise. We all know that. And only those matters which require urgent remedies in the form of ad interim relief will be heard. Uh, this was the circular which was, I think, first issued. Then the courts were closed, but our courts for the first time went virtual. Here, I would like to appreciate the court staff around the country that they were quickly embraced with new ways of online functioning. And I can speak from my own experience, my interaction with my fellow lawyers around the country that different ways were adopted to ensure that the courts keep functioning even during this pandemic situation. For instance, it is my personal view, I really found this a very good initiative that in some courts, WhatsApp groups were used to inform the lawyers about the links of the hearings. And I think these kind of, it's very difficult to make these processes, first to think and make these processes, and then to get them into the practical situation. And in fact, in some interior parts of the country, hearings were conducted over WhatsApp video calls, because we all know that what is the situation in our country's interior parts. It is, of course, not as developed as it should be. So, this is what happened. So, my personal experience has been good. And I remember few of presiding officers in Delhi district courts use measures like sharing screen so that the order that is being dictated is visible to the lawyers who are present virtually there. So the point is that the entire court staff behaved proactively and welcomed this transition to digital hearing system wholeheartedly. And we all know that the judicial staff usually is also not so well versed with the technology, but yes, uh, the staff, of course, had to learn, had to work hard, because it was new for us, for them, for almost everyone. Now my another point is the resistance to digital system. So quite unexpectedly, or maybe expectedly, the lawyers body, the bar, resisted to transition to digital system of courts. In many states, lawyers bodies protested against virtual hearings. And there are many reasons because of which this resistance was shown. Firstly, there are a large number of lawyers who are old and not very good with technology. Old as in who are not very well versed with the technology. It is for the first time that these people use technology in such a way. So, this resistance from those lawyers was understandable. Secondly, there is a large percentage of lawyers who do not have access to technological means and devices. There are many lawyers who earn on daily basis in courts, and we have to understand that there is a huge disparity in what lawyers earn, and we all know about that. So those lawyers who did not have either proper smartphones or laptops or internet connection were quite obviously against virtual system. But I believe that every coin has two sides. So there is, of course, the opportunity on the other hand. We also have to realize that whatever digital transition happened, to whatever extent, would not have been possible had we have not have been in this situation. So I do not mean that COVID-19 should is a good thing which happened to us, but I am saying it is better to take things positively as soon as we can. We should think of that also. So at least now our courts and court staff have experienced firsthand how to function virtually. Now we are sure that dispensation of justice do not stop, even if it is not possible for courts to function physically. See, I truly agree that physical functioning is maybe faster or maybe comfortable for most of the lawyers and the litigants. But at least the other side of the situation is, at least there's no full stop to it. At least the courts are functioning. So now this was the situation initially. Now, when the COVID returns, so now after many months, courts were going back to physical hearings. For instance, in Delhi High Court and district courts, physical hearings were made mandatory. Notification for physical hearings was also issued by NCLT, but we are seeing that courts are now considering going back to virtual or hybrid system. We should not discuss that what will be the immediate impact of return of COVID, but we should discuss whether it is possible to sustain the hybrid or virtual hearing system. because if we see, it does offer a lot of advantages. Firstly, in a city like Delhi, where there are thousands of lawyers, so many courts, tribunals traveling within the city by lawyers and court staff is a huge contribution to the traffic congestion in our city. So if we do not, I know this is an extreme point, but yes, practically it should also be considered that if we do not have to visit court physically for everything, then it will save time. And of course, I this is what I believe, that the courts will function faster. And another very practical thing that comes to my mind is that the delay that happens due to irrelevant excuses given by lawyers will also be eliminated. And this there was one more thing. A campaign was started by women lawyers supporting continuation of virtual hearings. As we all know, in India, especially in India, it's primarily a woman's duty to look after her house and children. So if you think from a married woman's perspective, digital system was a blessing, a true blessing. But yes, of course, as I said, there are two sides of every coin. So there are disadvantages, like for those lawyers who are not so well versed with this technology, and there are difficulties. I'm sure there are difficulties to conduct cross examination, inspection of documents. And there's one more thing, a very important thing, advantage for one and disadvantage for other, is that the senior advocates were appearing even in other states, sitting in Delhi and Mumbai, and it was hampering work of local lawyers. So I believe that we should not be one, like we should not be at one side. We should think both sides, keeping in mind the practical situation, keeping in mind about the good things and the bad things, and then it should be discussed in that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Divya Goyal, for giving a very balanced assessment about the virtual and in-person proceedings. But what she says makes some sense. She says that wherever it is possible, we must go for virtual, so that the congestion on the roads, and especially nowadays because of the COVID time, it is very much required that the congestion in the courts or on the roads are to be avoided. But she also says that there are many advocates, either who are old enough, who cannot understand right now this modern technology, or those who can't afford to have the laptops or the internets, etc. So both the sides of the coins. And she also made a very interesting point that the senior advocates who are sitting in Bombay and Delhi, she has forgotten to mention that the advocates are sitting in London also harming the work of the many of the advocates. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma is nodding his head very vigorously, I know. Anyway, without naming the advocate, everybody, you all know. Thank you very much, Advocate Divya Goyal, for giving your balanced, but yes, what can be done, because in any way COVID is returning. We cannot close our eye. We cannot say that no, it's not coming back. It is, facts are there, but only thing is that whether we have learned any lesson or not, that we will, in the next round, definitely will ask you all those things. Now I would like to go to my next panelist. He's Mr. Srijan Mishra. Mr. Mishra is presently research assistant at Maharashtra National Law University, Nagpur. He completed his LLM in Energy and Telecommunications Laws, National Law University, Nagpur, and BA LLB honors from National Law University and Judicial Academy, Assam. He is also pursuing his PhD from Maharashtra National Law University, Nagpur, in the field of narcotics laws and education policy. Mr. Srijan has participated and presented papers at several national and international conferences. He has also attended and participated in international events like Critical Legal Conference organized by University of Kent, United Kingdom in 2016, World Intellectual Property Organization India Summer School in 2017, and the William C. Court International Commercial Arbitration Moot Vienna in year 2018. He also has experience of closely working with the Center for Child Rights at National Law University Assam as volunteer and has all been involved in organizing many national conferences and capacity building programs. Welcome, Mr. Srijan Mishra, on our show. Mr. Srijan Mishra, although you are an advocate on papers, but not because you are not practicing, you are not a practicing advocate, so I have to call you Mr. only. So Mr. Srijan Mishra, you have heard Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, Advocate Sunil Bhargav, as well as Advocate Divya Goyal. And they have given their perspectives about the COVID returns. And they have the different views about the virtual as well as in-person hearings. Now, you are right now in Nagpur, a city which is under lockdown for last few days, or if I'm not mistaken, more than 10 days. And so you have the first-hand information about the COVID returns more than any one of us, because neither the advocates from Mathura or Delhi is seeing the lockdown or even in the night curfew, but you are seeing the complete lockdown. So we would like to know from you the COVID returns impact on judicial system. Mr. Srijan Mishra, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goyal, for having me and making part of panel with such learned senior advocates. Right now, as we've been discussing about COVID returning back in our lives, in a way, it just never went away. It was always there. Most of the population thought that it is gone, and that is why I think that is the major reason that these cases are increasing now. Nagpur has been in lockdown for past nearly 15 days now, and I think it is expected that it will be a complete lockdown for next 15 days as well, because of Holi and all. They've taken more precautions now, more regulations are coming up for lockdown, and I don't think there's any chance of us going back to physical mode anytime soon, at least in Nagpur or major cities in the state of Maharashtra. Because Nagpur is recording daily cases of nearly 3,000 cases every day, which is much more than last year's. Maharashtra as a state has already crossed its most number of cases that was recorded last year. So that was around 24,000. And today we are reaching around 30,000 every day. So that is a huge number, and that is a huge jump that we've taken. And I think more or less it is because of us only, and because we've stopped taking precautions. And the fact is that many people I've had conversations with were like, Corona happened to us and it went away. So that mentality is also there, and they're not using masks, obviously, and this use of sanitizer is also not much. So everything is contributing in all together, and that is why the number of cases are increasing every day, because there was no huge festival or a celebration that that could have resulted in increased number of cases, but it is just day-to-day life, and the cases are increasing. So each and everyone is somewhere responsible for that. But coming back again to the topic of the discussion today that we have is about COVID returning and its impact on judiciary. What we saw last year when this pandemic started and everyone was panicking about it, and I think our courts were were actually thinking about going into virtual hearings. But what we've seen, the numbers are not really on the side of the court when we say that, because since if we see the data from the National Judicial Data Grid, which is a government platform for monitoring judicial data, it shows the backlogs in district courts has increased to 18% from December 31st, 2019 to December 31st, 2020. And while in 2018-19, the rate was 7.79%. Sorry. So it is a huge jump that we have seen. And even for the Supreme Court, the pendency rose to more, 10%, nearly around from 60,000 cases to 66,000 around on March 21st, 2021, we're talking about here. And this is seen even after the number of hours the court was sitting has increased. The court sat for more number of hours and more number of days, nearly usual 190 days. The court sat for nearly 213 days. The Supreme Court I'm talking about. Even then the pendency rose. And the number of hours also have shown that the court was sitting for a longer time, but the virtual hearings was not that effective. So as far as that is concerned, I think that is a major concern for us. And because we see that the courts are coming forward with the different mechanisms to tackle the whole pandemic situation, but there are a number of logistic issues that come up. Some of them have been already pointed out. For example, one of them was, again, the backlog that I discussed already. The second one is access to justice that we've been talking about. So access to justice has been one thing that we've been talking about since the independence until it has been a huge discussion as well, even when the courts were in physical mode. And while going into virtual mode, we've seen that the whole access to justice concept is in question now, and whoever is able to reach to the court is a question. And as pointed out by panelists, that some advocates have easy access again when it comes to that, and thus the clients also have problem reaching to the court and getting justice in the end. And the young lawyers are facing a lot of problem. Personally, I know 4 or 5 of my friends who've lost their job while they were practicing with senior advocates, and they've lost their jobs and they've got nothing, nowhere to go. Either that or they've got a pay cut, which is a very minimum thing, and it is very hard for them to sustain themselves. So now they're looking for alternate career options or alternate opportunities if they can get some. So that is also one of a major problem here. And the livelihood concern is one of the major, as far as I think, because the young advocates who are getting into practice are not that self-sufficient, and not many senior advocates are actually helping these young fellows. Though there have been some schemes coming out from the state bar councils or the state governments, which is for providing assistance to the lawyers. But again, largely, more number of people are there who are not able to sustain themselves and somehow managing it. So that is also one thing that has to be taken into consideration while we're talking about virtual hearings, because virtual hearings obviously is helping the court in this pandemic to reach to the end of justice, but somewhere failing to take such factors into consideration. So next would be that even for the law firms, it has become a problem, though they're getting a huge revenue out of it, but again, they have to justify their number of working hours that they charge for. So even they have raised concerns with this. Moreover, when we talk about the virtual hearings, we see that there is some initially also until now, we've been into the pandemic for the past nearly a year now, more than a year now, if you see technically. So we've seen that most advocates, high courts have come out with guidelines like you should not idly, attend the court from your car, from your kitchen, or it has to be decorum, has to be maintained. All of these factors also contribute, largely also to advancement of the profession as well. We see that proper decorum, number of lawyers were not. Some people were found talking in their vests in a high court hearing, which itself raises question on the whole conduct of an individual inside the court, which is also changing. So the dimensions are changing. There are a number of factors that we need to be sure of, and also that when we talk about virtual hearings, people have different opinions as far as going to the court is concerned, and because it is hard, at least in the district courts, or for that matter in high courts as well, to maintain social distancing, which that is not a very easy task. You've got number of lawyers, you've got clients, you've got court staff, you've got judicial officers. Number of factors are to be taken into consideration when we think about physical hearings, and that is not a proper way to think about in the present situation. I don't think we can go into that. We did that. Most of the district courts were working, and I am sure we've seen that they've not no proper social distancing was followed, or for that matter, masks were used. So again, that is a concern because the numbers are increasing. We've got new South African variant, as just mentioned. We've already got the the double mutation happening. So the condition is not very good, and I think we need to look back again. Though I still feel that physical hearings are required to meet the end of the justice, to some extent that we can go for, and virtual hearings are somewhere restricting that. And even the studies have shown that the numbers are not really in the favor of the courts when we talk about virtual hearings. And it is very easy for people to sit in their comfort zone and talk about it, but when we go into on ground and see that people are actually suffering, even the young advocates are suffering, because I know this because for a fact, because some of my friends have suffered in this whole year. So I know they've suffered. They're trying to do it, but there are some advocates, senior advocates, also helping the young advocates to sustain, in the whole process. They're helping them financially or whatever way they can. That is also a practice. But overall, if we see, the road ahead of us is a tough one, and I think we need to be very careful as we go ahead with the physical hearing. For now, I think for the next 2-3 months, with the current number of cases that are there, I don't think physical hearing would be possible, and would be avoided even by the advocates as well, because of health and safety, of course. So the road ahead is tough, but I think we need to adapt and change with time, and we'll stick to virtual hearing for now, and hope that in the coming days the situation improves and we go back to the normal. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mishra, for giving your views. And one very important point Mr. Mishra has raised is that the livelihood of the young advocates is in very bad shape, because those who are working with the seniors now, because seniors are also not having that much work, so either they are giving a huge pay cut or they are removing them. So where they will go? Plus those who are not having the online system to attend the virtual courts is also facing lots of problems. So we have seen that both the sides are there. One side, as Advocate Divya Goyal said, that the advantages of the virtual, and as Mr. Mishra has mentioned about the disadvantage that it is giving the problems. But one thing he has made very clear, because he is in Nagpur, and for last 15 days, the Nagpur is under lockdown, and he is hoping that at least another 15 days it will be there. So if it is like this, then how the physical proceedings is possible? Physical courts are not possible. It means only the virtual courts will be there, and that too only to the level of High Court, not the district courts, because the district court doesn't have the infrastructure. Thank you very much, Mr. Mishra, for giving your views. Now, I would like to ask few questions one by one. First, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Mr. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, you said lots of money, infrastructure. Who says we don't have money? You belongs to Mathura. Recently, you had a Kumbh Mela. The other day, we have seen a report that the government of UP paid 60 lakhs rupees for organizing a Holi at Barsana, where 5 lakhs people attended that Holi. And you are saying that there is no money, there is no infrastructure. And I will tell you, infrastructure never takes so much time. It takes how much time it took for the Supreme Court to become virtual. So why not their district courts become virtual? Why not the infrastructures were created? So the excuse of not giving money, that we are not having the money, means the government doesn't have money, or they cannot do the infrastructure. And forget about that. What about the judges? Appointment of judges. Everybody knows how much vacancies are there. So when this is the situation, Advocate Sharma, it means we have not learned any lesson in last 1 year. And if we have not learned any lesson, then this COVID return is going to be more fatal, more harmful now in the future. What do you say about this?
Yeah, Mr. Goyal, very interesting point you have raised. Government has to release the funds, but unfortunately, this judicial system is a very good source of earning for the government by way of court fees and all other things. But government is not making expenditure to develop the same. Actually, generally, every government takes this system. It is problem creator to the government. This system is never at a priority level to the government. Government only thinks about its system in the last, or if there are some directions, specifically by some honorable High Court or honorable Supreme Court. Otherwise, at government level, it is for every state and central level. Government is never thinking about the development of this system. What Divya has said, she was right. But that position is about Delhi. At Delhi, from trial court to honorable Supreme Court and tribunals, all the infrastructure is there. So she is absolutely right with regard to Delhi. But this is not so in other districts of the country. It may be in some other metropolitan cities also, like Bombay or Calcutta or Chennai or some other districts. But more than 99% of the districts of the country are not having any infrastructure, and none of the government is willing to do so. So the matter is not the sufficiency or availability of the money, rather it is a willpower to do the things.
Okay.
And your second question is about the appointment of judges. This appointment of judges is also the very same reason. Presently also, a huge list of collegium is pending with the government, but government is not making any opinion about either to reject the same or to approve the same. It is pending. Much more retirements have gone thereafter. Much more vacancies have been created thereafter. And at district level, we say retirement and promotions are a natural process. It always goes on. And at the time of appointment of every judicial officer, everyone knows that this officer will retire on such and such date, or this he will promote on such and such year. Vacancies are expected that this year so much of the vacancies will occur in the state, but appointment process is not in accordance to the vacancies which are being created.
Okay. And unlike the UPSC, IAS, and
Unlike the
IPS,
UPSC, that
okay.
is not there.
But one point which you have made about the money, you have mentioned that whatsoever the court fees the courts are collecting, it goes to the to the government.
Government.
It
Yes.
is not with the courts.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Why when for a specific performance case, I know that the courts are charging 8 to 10% of the valuation.
Yeah, very huge court fees. Very huge.
So
court fees.
why not the advocates are moving on file a PIL asking the Supreme Court or the High Court to retain this money or whatsoever is collected and spend only for the infrastructure of the judicial system. I think this is the weakness. For everything, the advocates are moving a PIL. Why not to develop their own infrastructure?
Yes, Mr. Goyal, I'm remembering one thing. Long back, perhaps in 1987, I was at Cochin, and Honorable Justice Krishna Iyer was retired at that time. I met him at his residence, and I asked the same question, that what this system is not adopting this. He said, once when he was judge of Supreme Court, one writ petition was there on this point, and he was in a mood to make specific directions against the government in this regard, that the money of the judiciary should not be used by the government. And the then Attorney General, he got the things that he will pass the order. He get the matter settled out of the court. And Justice Krishna Iyer informed me that I was unable to do the things and no other matter came to me.
No, but still now there is a scope. I am sure with this pandemic or the COVID, one of the advocates should file a PIL, ask them that whatsoever the money is coming, so it should be used for that. Thank you very much, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Now my question goes to Advocate Sunil Bhargav. Advocate Sunil Bhargav, we have seen in Income Tax Department, there is a faceless assessment is taking place. Why not there is a faceless judiciary when now things are online? Idea is that let be hybrid, a faceless and with face, not in person. Like when you are filing a fresh case, it can be heard all over India, anywhere. Anyone sitting anywhere, the judge is listening your case. You are arguing. He might not be at Mathura, not be in Delhi. It might be at Coimbatore or in Trivandrum or in Hyderabad, wherever. So why not we develop? The advantage will be more and more judges who are well aware about the online things will be tackling those cases, and those advocates who are well versed with this online thing, they will be filing in those courts. Those who are not, they will be filing in person. So basically the hybrid, it should not be like what Supreme Court is saying, that government pleaders are allowed to come in person and the others cannot come. Instead of that, okay, everything in virtual, different courts, and in person, different courts. But virtual should be a faceless judiciary. Nobody knows. The corruption will go down. What do you say about this, Advocate Sunil Bhargav?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get the first question of yours because
the first question is, why not the faceless judiciary? Like Income Tax Department is faceless assessment. You are filing a case, you want to argue for bail, let it not be from a judge from Mathura. He can be sitting in Hyderabad or Bombay or anywhere, Mumbai or anywhere. He's listening your case and taking a decision. After all, judge is a judge. What do you say about this, Advocate Sunil Bhargav? Please unmute yourself. Please unmute, Advocate Bhargav. Yes, please, go ahead.
Actually, we expect all the judges not to see faces, but to see what has been argued. It is the important question is, what is to be argued is more important than the face which is arguing it or by the mouth which is saying it. If such thing happens, like we can file anywhere or argue anywhere regarding that fact, then what you are trying to prevent will start off again. Then, as my senior colleague has stated earlier, we have been trying to list matters which are pending for last 20 years, 30 years, and which have not come forward. We are trying to get them listed, but we cannot get them because of the same problem. Because filing is again, when it comes up, when the case comes up for hearing, it will be coming through the computers with the listings. Then that part doesn't come. But when it comes like this, we file and we don't know where it is going. And only one person who will be filing that knows. Then the question is, whoever is filing it, that name will come again. Because we cannot file anything. We cannot file a case without lawyer's name coming into picture. Without the person, his registrations, his mobile number, everything has to be in record. Then only we can put forward a case and then only it can be heard. Okay. So that part, that nobody will know where it is going to be argued, and without looking at the face, a judge can pass an order. I don't think that is possible right now.
Okay.
It can be done when instead of state-wise cases.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you very much, Advocate Bhargav, for giving your views. Now my question goes to Advocate Divya Goyal. Advocate Divya Goyal, Advocate Bhargav as well as Advocate Sharma mentioned that lots of crowd, and Advocate Sunil Bhargav mentioned very clearly that with one client, so many other people are coming. Why not live stream the court proceedings? Now when things are online, why not live stream the court proceedings so the others who wants to know, even the client wants to know, client can get the link, but why not everyone can see what is happening when we have a live streaming of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha proceedings? Why not we have, and it is in US, we have the live stream proceedings. Why not in India, especially of Supreme Court, High Courts, all those courts, why not we start the live stream proceedings? Advocate Divya Goyal, please. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute. Yeah.
Okay, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah. Yes, please.
So I think we will have to make behavioral changes for such changes. Live streaming has been started by Gujarat Court, but I personally am not in favor of live streaming because inappropriate comments are made and it has been experienced. But yes, we may give the access to the litigants. There should be a system which has passwords, etc., so that is circulated amongst those who actually should be joining, should be attending, and all of us will have to ensure that we follow the protocols. See,
Okay.
live streaming such confidential things, live streaming of such confidential things is a big risk. We all of us should be mature enough to understand, and we all know how general people behave. We
Okay.
all know
Okay.
that we have a habit of commenting on everything.
Advocate Goyal, you have made a good point, but the thing is, when we are hearing all the inappropriate, unparliamentary words from the parliament, I think this court proceedings, once it will start, definitely people will behave. The advocates also behave properly for doing this thing. After all, the general public is watching. In US, it is very common, and everything is in public. So the people are matured enough, and they will have to mature. How many years it will take? We have already passed 73, 74 years. Now, you mean to say that we will never become mature? No, I don't think so. But yes, your point is right. Until unless we will have that maturity, we cannot have. Thank you very much, Advocate Goyal.
Just one thing I would like to add, it's not a bad idea. I also don't know why we have resistance towards it. And of course, Of course, very well said that it is not so that we will not have that maturity at any time. But my message through this is that we means every citizen should have that responsibility now. It's high time. See, it's why we are not developing in many, there are many reasons after everything.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Paucity of time. Thank you very much, Advocate Goyal. Mr. Mishra, last question to you is, why not conduct the training to judicial officers and advocates about this online thing, virtual, when we know like lockdown has taken place? Whatsoever we discuss, physical advantage, no disadvantage, it is of no use. Once the lockdown is there, like in Nagpur. It might be tomorrow in all over India. Once it is there, why in last 1 year, why no such type of trainings were given to the advocates or the judiciary officers, so that at least the district level we can also start, or those advocates who wants to participate in Supreme Court or High Court, they would have also been taking the training. What do you say about this, Mr. Mishra? Time is short, 30 seconds.
Yes. No, I think that should have been done, but some initiatives have been taken on different by different courts and different states actually. But I think a pan-India initiative should be taken for betterment of to reach the final end of justice. And I think we need to expand the approach here, because some district courts are already doing it. Some high courts have already directed some district courts to do it. But a pan-India approach should be there, and Supreme Court, I think, should take an initiative to make it compulsory to undergo a training program. So it should not be voluntary.
Okay, thank you very much. So today you have seen that the last 1 year we have not learned anything. No lessons has been learned. We are where we were in the last March 2020. We are still there, except that Supreme Court or High Courts have started the virtual hearing. Otherwise, the pendency has increased, the litigations have increased, and as one of the panelists says, justice delayed is justice denied. When this is the situation, why judiciary has not taken a proactive role? And as one of the panelists says, the money is taken by the government. Why the government is taking the money which can be used by the judiciary so that the infrastructure can be developed? And unless that is not developed, we have to face the same thing what we have faced in 2020. God forbids that 2021 will be the same, but we have to see the reality. So thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarocar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic. But tomorrow being Sunday, it's a relaxation day. So that tomorrow is media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. Is Mohabbat-e-Ishq is the theme tomorrow for the songs, and our celebrity, the singer, is Miss Madhura Vartak. She's a renowned professional singer from Mumbai. So tomorrow, please do join for media conference Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. to listen the music, so that at least the tensions which we are having now for seeing how the COVID is affecting, at least will give some relaxation to all of us. Thank you very much, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Thank you very much, Advocate Sunil Bhargav. Thank you very much, Advocate Divya Goyal. And thank you, Mr. Srijan Mishra, for joining us. And today's discussion, to be very frank, I have so many questions still pending. Definitely, we have to do more media conference on this topic, because it's a very, very important topic. As one of the panelists says, that if the judiciary will not work, then what is going to happen to the future of the country, the state, or the families, or the society? So we have to be very much particular for this. And thank you all the viewers for joining. I'm sure today's program is also very enlightening to all of you. Thank you all.